Hey everyone, you need to have a blank piece of paper out, same way. We're going to do some practice. We're going to be pretty short here, so just make sure you're doing it on a blank piece of paper. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a greatest common factor problem. Okay, so I'm going to do, let's do 54 and 36, something like that. Okay, so if we're finding the greatest common factor, we are going to, first of all, do the prime factorization. Keep in mind, we've got to know the difference between a factor and a multiple. I keep stressing that because some of you do not know the difference right now. Okay? If I asked you for the factors of, let's say, 54, if I were just doing 54, that would be like the number 1, because 1 times 54. The number 2, because it's even. So 2 times something gives me 54, and so on. The factors are the pieces that multiply together to give me 54. Okay? Whereas multiples of 54, I mean, I'm only going to do a couple, but that would be if I said, okay, the multiples of 54 are, well, 54 times 1 would be 54. 54 times 2 would be 108. Okay? So, and I could keep going here, but I think you get the point. Those are multiples. We got to know the difference. Okay? So, we're going to find the greatest common factor here. So, we want to find one of these factors right here that they share. Okay? So we're going to, first of all, do our prime factorization. Again, those of you that are still struggling with prime factorization, that Learning Target 4 and 5 video is still there. It's still on Schoology. You can go to it at any point, rewatch, practice, because you got to have that down. Because I see too many of you that are struggling with this part, and you know how to do this, but you can't do this very well. So we've got to get that down. Okay, so I'm going to break this to 6 and 9 because I know that 6 times 9 is 54. You could have also done 2 and 27. That's an option as well. Doesn't really matter. It's all going to come out the same way. I'm going to break 6 down to 2 and 3. Notice I didn't circle 6 or 9 because they're not prime. They are composite. But now we know that the number 2 is definitely a prime factor, and we know that 3 is a prime factor. Okay? Let's do 9 now. We know that would break to 3 and 3 because 3 times 3 is 9. Okay? We're going to do the same thing over here for 36. You could break it however you like. I'm just going to go ahead and break it to 4 and 9. You could have broken it to 6 and 6, 2 and 18, 12 and 3. 36 has a lot of factors, so you could have went any direction on that one, but I just chose 4 and 9. Okay, now I know that 4 and 9 are both composites, so I'm going to break those down further to 2 and 2. And then this is going to break to 3 and 3. Okay? Now, that's the first step. Now, remember, keep in mind one thing as I go through this. We're going to do LCM here in a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to kind of put it up there for just in the back of your mind. Think about it. Because this process that we're doing, the process is exactly the same for LCM. Your first step to doing the least common multiple is finding the GCF. So here we go. For 54, I'm going to list out my prime factorization. I'm going to stack them up. Some of you have been skipping this step throughout the week. We need to stop that because I want you to do it. You have to do it. It's not really an optional thing. I will count it wrong on the test if you don't do it. Okay? 36 is going to be 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. Okay? Now keep in mind, when you're doing greatest common factor, you are now at the point where you are going to try to identify CFs, common factors. Okay, so I look here and I say, okay, I know that they share a common 2, they share a common 3, and they share another common 3. So we use 1 from each of those because we're just saying what they share, and then everything they share, we're going to go ahead and multiply it out. 2 times 3 is 6, times 3 is 18. That is the greatest common factor. Okay? Go up here and just do a quick check. Is 18 divisible, or is 54 divisible by 18? Yes, it is. If you had to go off to the side and divide it, or you could kind of just think, okay, 18 times 2 is 36. Okay, that answers that one. It obviously is a factor there. And then you could say 18 times 3, that is 54, so it's definitely 18 is definitely a factor of both 18 and of 54 and 36. Okay. Now, this was just a GCF question, but what I've done here, I'm going to scoot this down a little bit, is now what I want you to see is I am now going to turn this into an LCM question because I just want you to see how similar the strategies are. Everything you did here is an LCM question, so nothing would have changed. If this were just, if I would have come up here and put LCM up here, your first step would have been to find the GCF. So let's think back. We've already done the GCF. What we do is we take the GCF 18 and we are going to multiply it by whatever numbers are remaining uncircled up here in our prime factorizations. We've already taken care of these. Okay, we've already gotten rid of them. Now I don't really want you guys to put X's through them because if you did it, it's okay, but I don't want you to do it because you guys just are so sloppy and you'll start doing this kind of stuff and you'll lose numbers. So I don't want you to do that, but I just want you to see that we've already taken care of those. We've said, okay, they share those. We've already got that accounted for. Okay? Now what we got to do is we got to take it and multiply our GCF by whatever is remaining, which I know is times 2 times 3. Those are the only two things remaining right there. Okay? I know that 18 times 2 is 36 times 3. Maybe we don't know that off the top of our head, so we got to go off to the side. 36 times 3. 6 times 3 is 18. Carry 1. 3 times 3 is 9, 10. So we're going to get 108. 108 is my LCM. Okay? So I did it that way just so that you would be forced to go through the GCF process in order to be able to find the LCM. So right there, I just found the GCF like you were asked to do, or like we were doing, and then I turned it right into an LCF by simply taking the GCF right there and multiplying it by whatever was left. Okay, I want you guys to try one. Okay, so we're going to go GCF first. Okay, and the number is going to be, let's go 24 and 18. Do that. All right, I want you to find the GCF at first. Okay, you should have all done this already. Okay, so we're going to start with our prime factorization, so that breaks down to 2 and 12. Also, you could have used 6 and 4 or 8 and 3. Okay, that breaks down to 2 and 6, and finally 2 and 3. For 18, that's going to break down to 3 and 6. Yes, you could have also done 2 and 9, and 2 and 3. Notice how I'm circling them. That's one thing that's driving me crazy. Throughout the week, I've noticed that many of you are still not circling these. If I'm doing it, guys, you should be doing it also. Now, the next step to finding GCF is to take those prime factorizations, or actually write the prime factorizations. So we got 24. We know the prime factorization for that is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Let's multiply it out to make sure. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is, or I'm sorry, times 3 is 24. Okay, so we're all good there. I just checked it. This one is going to be, for 18, is going to be 3 times, oops, I'm sorry, least to greatest, right? Always least to greatest, 2 times 3 times 3. Now at this step right here, remember, we look for, we're doing GCF, so we look for CFs, common factors. So I see a common 2, I see a common 3, and I don't see anything else in common. So I know that my greatest common factor is going to be 2 and 3 are my two prime factors. We've got to multiply those out. I know that my greatest common factor is 6. Hopefully you all got that right, and if you didn't, hopefully you're seeing what your mistake was, okay, which is often the best way to learn. Okay, now that we have that, and you should have it corrected on your paper, I would like you to take that information and find the LCM. Okay, so now I know that my GCF is 6. Okay, I have all this. I've done this. That's the hardest part to LCM. Now we just got the easy part. I know that the LCM, we just have to take the GCF right there, 6, and we're going to multiply it by any factor over here that wasn't a common factor with another one. So when I look here, I say, okay, that 2, and that 3. So I'm going to do times 2, times 2, times 3. Okay, now these numbers can get kind of big. That's okay. Just do them one step at a time. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24 times 3. And then if you don't know what 24 times 3 is, just go off to the side. Multiply it out. 4 times 3 is 12. Carry 1. 3 times 2 is 6. 7. There we go. We know that the LCM for 18 and 24 is 72. Now let's think about the multiples of that. So this is the LCM. Okay, let's think about the multiples of 24. So the first multiple for 24 is 24. 24 times 2 would be 48. 24 times 3 would be 72. And 24 times 4 would be 96. Those are the first four multiples of 24. Now let's do 18. 18, 36, 54, 72, 90, 108, and so on. I could go on forever. Okay, this would go on forever as well. Okay, this next one would be 120, dot, dot, dot. Okay, we just did the same thing as doing that method. This is the list method. And as you can see, the first one that they have in common would be right there, 72, which is what we said the answer was. Okay? There, I hope we're all getting this. If you're still struggling with GCF and LCM, go back to the video from either the Learning Target 8 video. You can rewatch that and practice with that. Or you can go back to the 6 and 7 video and practice GCF with that. Okay? Always, I expect you tomorrow. We're going to do this again tomorrow, and I want you guys to come in with a real better understanding of it so we can just get through it and put it behind us and move on next week. Okay? All right, see you guys.